Hey, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from Street Scores coming to y'all with a big time Washington football team versus Chiefs injury update. You know the injury reports come out Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, so this is the early one, and it's looking pretty dark for both teams right now, so we're going to dive into that. And then also there was some roster moves for the Washington football team, and also what is going on with this fan attendance, the lowest attendance in the NFL. We're going to take a look at those stats and discuss how bad that is and why it's so bad. Granted, I'm in Atlanta, so I'm not helping much at all, so I'm not blaming anybody, but it's still crazy that we have the lowest fan attendance. Remember when both of the LA teams had the lowest? Well, we're lower than everybody now, and it's by like a significant margin too. And we're not even the worst team in the NFL. We're 2-3. But again, we're gonna dive into exactly why it's so bad for us, because how we look on the field versus the expectations we had come into this season may have the biggest margin as well. But before we dive into all of that, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell next to the subscription button so you get a notification immediately. And every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one, make sure you check out the rest of the channel. All of my videos are organized in playlists. I even have a comedy playlist for all of my funny videos. Make sure you check out my Washington football team versus Saints review. Be on the lookout for my Washington football team versus Chiefs preview tomorrow. And without further ado, let's get it. All right, first things first, we have to do the injury update, starting with the Washington football team. Samuel Cosmi, Antonio Gibson, Jared Norris, Curtis Samuel, Brandon Scherff, of course, and Cam Sims did not participate in practice today. I say, of course, for Brandon Scherff because he's expected to be out for at least like the next 2 to 3 weeks, so I'm not surprised that he didn't practice. And then Jonathan Allen, Dyami Brown, and Holcomb, and James Smith-Williams were limited participants today in practice. But you got to dive in a little bit more to know the severity of everybody's injuries, because Samuel Cosmi and Brandon Scherff just weren't at practice at all. And again, Brandon Scherff, we're expected to be out for the next 2-3 weeks, where Samuel Cosmi, we're not exactly sure how long he'll be out with his ankle injury. And to hear that he wasn't even at practice scares me, because I definitely want him out there on the field. One of the best rookies in the NFL at their job. And when Cornelius Lucas came in, I like Cornelius Lucas, but all of those false start penalties he was getting, I definitely miss Samuel Cosmi out there. And most importantly, just like with the Brandon Scherff injury, I like Wes Schweitzer a lot, but who's the backup to Wes Schweitzer if he gets hurt? Same thing with Cornelius Lucas. He got hurt a couple of times last season, and if he were to get hurt, who steps in for him? Sadiq Charles? And then you had running back Antonio Gibson with his shin injury. He was observing. And then on the side field, working with trainers, you had Cam Sims and Curtis Samuel. And then Dyami Brown and Matt Ioannidis, who's not on this injury report, practiced, both of them with knee injuries. And again, as you can see on here, Dyami Brown was a limited participant in practices. And then even beyond that, Darryl Roberts missed the game against the Saints with a quad injury, and now he's been placed on the injured reserve. So we're getting really thin in the DB group. We already lost Darryl Roberts to the injured reserve. We already lost Torrey McTyer to the injured reserve, and he's out for season. And now Darryl Roberts is on the injured reserve. His may be a little bit more temporary, but who knows? Which leads us to a lot of the roster moves that we've made, including safety Derek Forrest, rookie from this past draft class, who's been on IR with a hamstring injury since the beginning of the season, literally through the first 5 weeks of the season, returned to practice today. But before we get into all of the roster moves that we made, including Derek Forrest, let's go to the Kansas City side. And their side isn't any prettier at all. You have Anthony Hitchens, Jerron Reed, Travarius Ward, Blake Bell, Tyreek Hill, most notably Chris Jones, very notable. Joe Thuney, also very notable. All did not participate in practice today, as in Wednesday. And then you have Chris Lamons and Lucas Niang. They were all full participants. Theirs looks better than ours, but it's still not pretty. And then moving on to the roster moves. Now that Derek Forrest has returned to practice, Washington has 21 days to either activate Forrest or return him to IR. Also, with all of the DB injuries, including Darryl Roberts, who just went to the injured reserve, we signed defensive back Cole Luke back to our practice squad. And then also the Washington football team went out and signed cornerback Corn Elder off of the Panthers practice squad. So those are all of the injury updates and roster moves that have been made so far, but I wouldn't be surprised if anything else happens before this game on Sunday. So I'll keep y'all up to date on that. Now moving on to this lowest attendance in the NFL that's going on. And like I said in the intro, the Washington football team is last in attendance this year. And like I also said in the intro, it's not even just the fact that we're last, but it's by the margin that how far back we are. It's really insane. And also the fact that we are 2-3 and it's not the end of the world yet. I mean, we were literally 32nd out of 32 NFL teams. And we're not even dead last in total attendance because our stadium holds a lot of people. But you got to look at the average and you definitely got to look at the percentage. And we are dead last in percentage easily. You have Detroit, who is 30th with 85.4% of their stadiums filled. New Orleans has 74.1% of their stadium filled. And we're only at 62.2%. So any given home game, almost half of the seats are empty. And you know, the Falcons fans are pretty bad as far as filling in their stadium as well. They're 24th, so that's why there was so many empty seats in that Falcons versus Washington football team game. And apparently, if that game were in Washington, it would have been even emptier than it was in Atlanta. I remember going to that game and looking like, man, it's a lot of empty seats available. And that's crazy to know now that if it were at FedEx Field, it probably would have been even worse. And I fully understand. Again, I'm in Atlanta, and I just don't have the chance to go to home games as often as somebody that lives there. I mean, I used to live in Mitchellville, Bowie, Largo area, so I was right up the street. It was easy to go while I was younger. But even beyond that, just in the DMV area, we are a very proud fan base. We travel better than most fan bases. I mean, we're one of the very few fan bases that has fans in Italy, Brazil, Germany, Mexico, the UK, Australia, like a heavy presence in all of these countries around the world. Mostly because of our success in the 80s and the 90s. That's just stuck around for generations. And even just beyond the losing, as far as why the stadium attendance is so bad, there's also just bad experiences at the stadium. Again, even beyond just losing. Apparently there's like gross water, contaminated dirty water that falls on fans while they're at the stadium. The lines are very long, the seating is uncomfortable, and people are tired of it. I mean, the stadium is extremely old and outdated. When I went to the Atlanta game, so many people were talking about how nice that stadium was and how up to date it was, state of the art, and how comfortable it was. And then with the retractable roof, if it's nice outside, you can let nature in. But if it's raining, windy, whatever, any type of inclement weather, you can close off the stadium. You don't have to cancel games. And fans don't have to suffer. If it's 30 degrees outside, you don't have to deal with that either. So most stadiums around the country just have way better experiences set up for the fans. And again, it's not even just weather. It's a whole lot of little things like just longer lines. The FedEx Field Stadium just needs a complete makeover. Or really, it's just time to get a new stadium, for real. I know a lot of people in the DMV area complain about the traffic to FedEx Field as well. I wouldn't know much about that because again, even while I did live in Maryland, I lived so close to the stadium, that didn't really affect me. But you have the Raiders with their new stadium. I'm spoiled because I go to Mercedes-Benz Stadium for random things, even if it's not for football. So I can admit I am a little spoiled when it comes to stadiums. I haven't been to FedEx Field in a long time, so I just wouldn't know. I can't even remember exactly how bad that stadium was, but from everything that I'm hearing, it is terrible in comparison to other stadiums. If you're one of those people that has season tickets and you travel with the team, whether they play home or away, you go to every game, people are saying that we have one of the worst stadium experiences throughout the season. At least we fixed the field. You know, that 49ers rainy game from a couple of years ago was embarrassing, and at least we fixed that. But now we made it better for the players. They haven't done anything to really make it better for the fans yet. And then again, like I spoke about in the intro, added to all of that, the losing doesn't help at all. And again, we're not even the worst team in the NFL, but it's the fact that we have such high expectations and then we're coming out with such low production. We probably have the biggest gap in what we expected and what is actually reality right now, and what we're seeing put on the field on Sundays, probably than any other team. And also, we're tired of this time is different that we're getting sold on every few or so years. Every few or so years, new head coach, new regime, new management, and it seems like we're about to figure it out, and then we make some progress. We have one of those seasons that inspires us and gives us hope to make us think that something is finally different, and then the next season fall right on our face. Again, I'm one of those people that hasn't given up on this season at all. I think we can bounce back. I think once we fix a few things, we'll still be a really good football team. Not a Super Bowl contender, but not how bad we look as of right now, where people are hitting the panic button. But I definitely understand where fans are coming from, where the "this time is different" plea that this team keeps giving us is getting really old, and they're just tired of going to games and even wasting their money dealing with traffic to get there. And then when you get there, the seats are bad, lines are long, contaminated water falling on you. I can fully understand. And then even on top of that, Jonathan Allen in his press conference even talked about how the excessive smoke is, quote, ridiculous. He also said that it was dangerous. And the reporters even asked him how he navigates through the smoke, and he said he prays. Because I'm not sure if y'all noticed, but against the Saints when they were coming out, some people ran into the cheerleaders because the smoke was so thick. And like, the smoke isn't necessary. Maybe if this were college, I would understand, but I don't think too many people are just super hyped about the smoke like that. Maybe I'm wrong. But even so, can you at least tone it down a little bit to where players aren't running into cheerleaders or walls or tripping over things? I mean, the fact that Jonathan Allen says that he doesn't even know how to navigate through the smoke, he just prays he makes it to the end of it safely, is just ridiculous. They spending money on smoke, but not spending money on how to make the stadium better for fans. It's crazy. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Please like this video if you liked it, if you learned anything. Also, definitely shouts out to everybody that donates to the channel. A special shouts out to all of my sponsors, especially my Pro Bowl sponsors, names you see scrolling on the screen right now, man. I appreciate all of the support, man, big time. I'm gonna catch y'all later. I'm out.